Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. When you think about massive scale in the food industry, you probably picture, your standard modern fast food chains. But today, we're unpacking a really fascinating case study, Bikanervala. We're going to look at exactly how a century-old traditional sweet shop managed to scale into a global retail powerhouse without losing its soul. Here's the roadmap. We'll quickly cover the power of their heritage, how they expanded to own every food occasion, their massive business of gifting, their omni-channel ecosystem, the modernization challenge, and how it all feeds into a compounding marketing flywheel. Let's get into it.
Part 1. The Power of Heritage. The Foundation of Authenticity and Trust. So we're talking about well over a century here, tracing its roots all the way back to 1905 in Bikaner. And this gives Bikanervala something that newer food brands simply cannot manufacture, no matter how much venture capital they have: unshakable, multi-generational trust. For vegetarian households looking for a reliable dining choice, having 100 years of history literally wipes out any purchase friction. And the way they did it is a textbook heritage-to-scale strategy. Starting out in Bikaner with traditional sweets, they expanded to Delhi in the 50s. Then they grew across North India, then nationally, and now they're serving the entire global Indian diaspora. They basically took the geographical authenticity of their very name, Bikanerwala, and exported it to the rest of the world. They really found the absolute perfect sweet spot. Think about it. On one side, you have the local independent halwai, which has deep authenticity but zero scale. On the other side, you've got modern fast food retail, which has massive scale but kind of lacks cultural soul. Bikanervala sits right in the middle, traditional Indian food heritage delivered through a highly modern, trusted brand. Which brings us to part 2, owning every food occasion, going beyond just selling sweets. This is where the strategy shifts from just being a good business to being absolutely genius. Instead of asking a super narrow question like, hey, how do we sell more mithai? They took a step back and asked a much bigger question. What food occasions can we own? That one single shift completely changed the game. Because a traditional sweet shop is pretty limited, right? It relies on really infrequent events, weddings, major festivals, or maybe guests visiting. But by bringing in fresh vegetarian meals and snacks, Bikanervala suddenly unlocked breakfast, lunch, dinner, office meals, and even travel. They went from being a rare treat to a daily habit. And the impact that has on the bottom line is staggering. If you just pop in for a box of sweets, you might spend, say, 500 rupees. But when they transform into a full dining experience, now you're bringing your whole family for a meal, spending 300 to 800 rupees or more, and doing it multiple times a month. It's honestly a masterclass in multiplying customer lifetime value. Moving on to part 3, the business of gifting, selling a socially acceptable expression of affection. You see so many modern brands burning millions trying to invent new consumer habits out of thin air. Bikanervala doesn't do that. They just tap right into the massive, pre-existing cultural engine of Indian festivals: Diwali, Raksha Bandhan, the absolute chaos of wedding season, and corporate gifting. And because these beautifully designed premium boxes are traveling from shops to homes to offices, they act as a nationwide fleet of mobile billboards. Gifting is a really unique psychological space because the buyer and the consumer are two completely different people. Bikanervala isn't just selling a box of dry fruits. They're selling a socially acceptable expression of affection, respect, and celebration. They take a physical product and completely infuse it with high emotional stakes. All right, part 4, an omni-channel food ecosystem, expanding the physical and digital footprint. To actually hit a global scale, they had to make a really crucial strategic split. On one side, you have the core Bikanervala brand. That's all about the physical experience, the fresh vegetarian food, and the retail sweets. But fresh food has a really short shelf life, right? So, enter Bikaner. Bikaner takes that traditional food proposition and turns it into packaged, shelf-stable products for mass distribution. This lets them completely conquer grocery store aisles worldwide without compromising that fresh dining experience. And they definitely need to defend their turf in a crowded market. They're up against the absolute massive scale of Haldirams, local Hawaiis that compete hard on price, and modern boutique brands pushing premium design. Because their product overlap with Haldirams is so enormous, doubling down on that century-old heritage and their specific vegetarian restaurant experience is for sure their strongest differentiator. Part 5, the modernization challenge, balancing the old with the new. Because let's be real, they can't just coast on the past forever. While their heritage and trusted positioning are huge strengths, their biggest growth opportunities right now are entirely modern. We're talking premium corporate gifting, adopting quick commerce delivery, developing sugar-free options for health-conscious consumers, and creating visually trendy fusion sweets to really capture Gen Z. So it leads to this really tricky existential question. How do you modernize without losing the core authenticity that made you famous in the first place? It's a tightrope walk. If you lean too traditional, Gen Z completely tunes out. But if you get too trendy, you lose that special heritage that separates you from any generic fast food chain. And finally, part 6, the marketing flywheel, compounding growth through strategy. Just watch how this builds momentum. It's like a giant self-sustaining engine. Step 1, 100 years of heritage creates deep trust. Step 2, that trust fills their restaurants. Step 3, the restaurants capture vastly more daily consumption occasions. Step 4, those daily habits naturally drive demand for their packaged goods and digital orders. And finally, step 5, that massive volume completely funds wider distribution and really aggressive international expansion. Looking at all the source material for this explainer, this strategy earns an incredibly solid 8.5 out of 10. They scored top marks across the board for brand heritage, product portfolio, and cultural relevance. They've really proven that traditional authenticity and massive modern scale are absolutely not mutually exclusive. Because ultimately, their biggest competitive advantage isn't just that they make great mathai. It's that they own a deeply emotional territory: Indian food, plus celebration, plus gifting, family, and heritage. You just cannot copy that overnight. So I'll leave you with this. In an age of endless food delivery apps and fleeting digital trends, isn't owning the very taste of a family celebration the most defensible brand strategy of all?